Alrighty guys, hello and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at whether or not you should summon for the new character in Honkai Star Rail. But if you enjoyed today's video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel as well if you're new. Also consider checking out my Discord. We basically just talk shit about mobile games, so if you want to check that out, link will be down in the description below if you want to join a fun, growing community of mobile gamers. Anyway, let's jump straight into the video. Alrighty guys, so today we're going to be trying to answer the question for you guys, whether or not you should pull for IMBIBITOR LUNAE. I'm going to get that name wrong 100 times in this video. I'm very sorry. I literally had to look up a video how to actually pronounce the name properly. It's such an awkward name. It's usually the first word that I screw up. LUNAE is fine. It's the IMBIBITOR. It's such a weird word, god damn it. Alright, anyways, but should you summon for this character? Well, I'm going to answer this from two perspectives. I'm going to answer this from the question of a whale and from the perspective of a free-to-play player. Now, the whale answer is pretty simple. You're going to whale in the game anyways. If you want the character, get the character. It's as simple as that. For free-to-play though, it's a little bit more complicated because you have to manage your resources and kind of save tickets for things you actually need or necessarily only want. You won't be able to get everything as a free-to-play, obviously. That being said, I will say this. At the end of the day, it is one of those games where there's no PvP. It's a PvE game. If you want the character because it's fun or you like the aesthetic, just get the character. Meta is kind of irrelevant at the end of the day in these kind of things because the most important thing is are you having fun? If the answer is no and having the meta character you're not having fun, why? Why bother? But at the same time, some of you might want to know if the character is a good meta character, and we're going to answer some questions today. Now, basically the way we're going to do this, we're going to present yourself with a couple of different scenarios to kind of answer this question, and whatever camp you kind of fall into will kind of determine whether or not you should pull for him or not. Let's talk about the first kind of scenario, and this just really depends on what you have on your account for these kind of scenarios. So basically, first question you need to ask yourself is, do you have 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿? 𝙀𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉 is kind of this interesting unit. He's a bit of an underlooked unit actually for a lot of people, but he's a hybrid unit. So he kind of does decent damage, but he also brings a lot of utility to the team in terms of slowing down the enemy and dealing more damage to the enemy when they're slowed and stuff like that. Being an agility unit, he can work great on agility teams. Now, the trade differences between these two is less DPS, but better utility, more DPS, but less utility. Still has utility, but just less. Still has damage, but just less. That's essentially the kind of takeaway between these two characters. So if you already have 𝙀𝙀𝙃 and you already have, say, like another major DPS like Seeya or 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝙿 or I don't have him but Blade or Kafka, it might honestly not be super necessary to pick up also IMBIBITOR LUNAE, because there are going to be better upcoming characters than the next 3 characters that you're probably going to need more for your team. First scenario is if you have 𝙀𝙀𝙃 and you already have another main DPS, don't, unless you really want him. He is really good, don't get me wrong. Shitload of damage, really good DPS. But if you already have other options for a main DPS and you have 𝙀𝙀𝙃, it might not be super necessary to pick him up here. The other scenario where I would argue he's kind of not super useful is if you already have a lot of DPS options. So, or just for example, you're overloaded with too many. For example, my DPS options are Kafka. I've also got Seeya. I've also got 𝙀𝙀𝙃 if I really want to use him. I haven't built him yet, but I could. I've got Clara. I've got DPS options for days. I've got even tons of 4-star options if I really want to build them. And then I also have him, but I'm also planning myself on picking up the Ice DPS that's coming in 1.4 and Topaz as well. So I don't necessarily need this character. I got him because I got extremely lucky. But what I'm trying to say is in the second scenario, you might not necessarily have 𝙀𝙀𝙃, but if you're spoiled for options in terms of DPSs, they're going to be better characters that might be more useful to your account coming later. Mainly being 𝙀𝙓𝙃 and some of the other characters that might come in the future. Because yes, the main DPSs, it's great to have tons of options for them. You don't necessarily need to have them if you already have other options for it. Okay, and the third scenario is if you just don't have an imaginary DPS or any imaginary characters at all. For example, you don't have a 𝙀𝙀𝙃 already, you don't have him already, obviously, we're going to be pulling for him. But you don't have a 𝙀𝙀𝙃, you don't have Wukong. Well, everyone's going to have Wukong, but she's not a main damage dealer, she's a damage buffer, so you're not going to be using her as a main imaginary DPS. And then you have 𝙀𝙧, which can do damage, but you're using him in the healing slot, so you're not necessarily using him as a main DPS. So basically, if you don't have a 𝙀𝙀𝙃, you just don't have any imaginary really characters really at all to use, he's going to be a really great option. So if you, yeah, basically that. That's really simple, really, obviously. So yeah. The 3 scenarios are you have a 𝙀𝙀𝙃 already, maybe don't, but you can if you want to. But if you have a 𝙀𝙀𝙃 and you have lots of other DPS options, maybe just don't. It's probably not the most valuable thing you could get for your account. And the second option is that. And the third option is you just have none at all. So basically there's kind of 2 options where you maybe should summon, One with option 2 where you probably shouldn't summon, and then option 3 where you definitely should summon if you really want it. Because he is a good character, he does do a lot of damage, and I'm going to have a how to build him guide coming up very soon. Just to iterate again, just so people are really sure, because I want to make sure people are not wasting their currency. The first option is if you have a welt. Maybe 50-50 if you really want him summoned. Second option is if you have a welt and multiple other DPS characters, main DPS characters, probably don't. You can still if you really want to, but probably don't. And then third option is you just don't have an imaginary DPS at all. Definitely, go for it. He's great. And those, I would say, are the kind of 3 scenarios if you're having a free-to-play player and you're trying to decide whether you want him or not. Those are what I would say are the 3 scenarios, essentially. And then use that information as you will, whether or not you should summon for him. I'm going to showcase a little bit of gameplay and kind of show you just kind of how he looks in terms of his visuals of what his abilities and animations and that kind of stuff now. I'm not going to do the full explanation of everything just yet. I'm going to save that for my build guide that like I said, I'm doing pretty soon. I'll have that video out hopefully kind of soon, and I'll explain that in more detail later on, but I'm just going to showcase just his kind of general kit for now, so you guys can kind of see how it works. You can see some of the animations and just kind of see how he functions a bit in general, and maybe that'll help you decide whether you want to go for him or not. Basically, the way it works is you have your E ability here. This E ability, the more times you tap it, up to 3, will consume more and more skill points, up to a maximum of 3. The ability changes on each level of the skill point. So for example, if I do all 3, it's going to be do a bigger attack and it's going to be a blast attack. However, if I do just a regular 1 skill point E, it's going to be a single target. If I do 2, it's going to turn into a blast and the skill will obviously change, and the third one will be an even bigger skill. Let's use the third one so you can see how it works. Now, do keep in mind I haven't fully built my IMBIBITOR LUNAE yet, but he is still pretty damn good just straight up starting out. Let me build up a little bit more skill points again, just give me a sec. Now, this is, for example, his 2 skill. As you can see, it's a different animation and does a different thing, and all of these have a potential to kind of slow as well. Let me just do that again. All right, now let's use a singular skill point, and this is his single skill. And then we have his ultimate ability. I personally love the animation for this. I think this is one of the coolest looking ultimates in the game. Anyways, those are his skill animations. Like I said, I'll be making a how to build guide very soon. I'll go over all of this stuff in way more depth and detail if you want to see more of it. I'm not going to do this right now because I don't need this material. I was just showcasing it. But anyways, guys, that's kind of a quick little first look at IMBIBITOR LUNAE. My god, that's going to be a first look at him basically. So if you want to pull for him, I would definitely recommend it, but use those 3 different scenarios I talked about for the free to play, if you are free to play, and if you're a light spender to a whale, then just get him, honestly. But yeah, anyways, hopefully you guys all found this video helpful. If you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel and potentially joining the Discord community. Yet again, my how to build guide will be out very soon. Anyways,